Lesson 16, simplifying and evaluating variable expressions. So first off, let's evaluate these examples here. So we have negative a times brackets, negative a times parentheses, p minus a in parentheses and bracket, when a is 3 and p is 4. So our very first step is to substitute the numbers in for the variables. So I'll start off with plugging 3 in for a. And then these other parentheses, p, I put 4 minus a negative 3 in brackets. And then we follow order of operations to solve. So do parentheses first. So this is subtracting, and negative 3 is really adding. So 4 plus 3 is 7. 7 times a negative 3 is a negative 21. That's what's inside the brackets here. And then I have a negative 3 on the outside. So negative 3 times a negative 27. And that would give us an answer of 81. Next problem, xy times zyx. So when x is 2 and y is negative 1 and z is 4. So I have negative 1 times 2 times 4 times a negative 1 times 2. And since it's all multiplication, we can just multiply straight across. So negative 1 times 2 is negative 2, times 4 is negative 8, times a negative 1 is a positive 8, 8 times 2 is a positive 16. Other examples, when a is negative 2 and x is 7, let's substitute the numbers in. So we have negative 7 plus a negative 2 minus x is 7, a is a negative 2. We can simplify this. So now it's negative 7 plus a negative 2 is negative 9 minus 7 plus 2 is 9. 9 minus 9 is a negative 18. Problem, x times 4ap divided by xp. Now we can simplify this first before you substitute the numbers. There's a p in the numerator and a p in the denominator, and since everything's multiplication, I know I can divide these out, and I can divide the x's out as well. So really, I'm just doing 4 times a. So 4 times a, 1. So our answer would be 4. Now if we wanted to do the whole thing, just put x in. We have negative 3 times 4 times a, which is 1, times p, which is 5, all over x and p. X is negative 3. P is 5. You notice how I put them off to the side like that? And the reason I did it, because now we can simplify it some more. Negative 3 divided by negative 3 is just 1. 5 divided by 5 is 1. We're still left with 4 times 1, which gives you 4. Next example. Here we got a is 2 and x is negative 1. So I substitute. So 2 times a negative 1 times the bracket, negative 2 times parentheses 2 minus a negative 1. And we simplify from here. So now on the outside here, I got negative 2 in the brackets. Negative 2 minus a negative 1 is 3. 3 times a negative 2 is a negative 6. And now I have negative 2 times negative 6, which gives us a positive 12. Next problem. When x is 3, y is negative 1, z is half. Let's plug our numbers in. So I have 5 times a negative 1 times 2 times z, which is half, times 4 times x is 3 and y is negative 1. And we can do some simplifying here. I know 2 times half is just 1, so that just becomes 1. So now I have, this is negative 5 times 1 times over here gives us a negative 12. So now we're at a negative 12 times a negative 5 gives us an answer of a positive 60. Next Couple examples. B is -2 and C is 0. So I got a negative, -2, brackets, a negative, -2, parentheses, a -2 minus 0, minus, parentheses, C is 0 minus a -2, and parentheses and brackets. So on the outside, I got a +2, brackets now. Here I can simplify, this is plus, so now I have 2. Bring down my minus sign, -2 minus 0 is just -2. And then I got a -2, which is a +2. So 4, 2 times -2 is -4. -4 minus 2 is what I have in brackets. -4 minus 2 is a -6. -6 times 2, which gives me a -12. Next one, 4RS divided by 6ST. So 4R is -1, S is -3, divided by 6 times S, which is -3, T, which is -2. And I can do some simplifying here. -3's cancel out. And then I know I can take 2 out here. 2 divided by 2 is 4. Or 4 divided by 2 is 2. 6 divided by 2 is 3. And then I can simplify even further. A -2 gives me a -1. Divided 2 here, it gives me 1. So now all I have up is 1 times a -1 is -1. At the bottom, I got 3 times a -1 is a -3, which will give me an answer of a +1/3. Next problem, plug in x 0.5, so I have a -0.5 times parentheses y is a -1.75 minus 3 plus my y, which is a -1.75. So we have a -0.5. Before you do the -0.5, let's do a -1.75 minus 3, which gives us a -4.75. And then I have to multiply that by a -0.5, which will give us a +2.375. And then we add a -1.75. So really you're just subtracting 1.75. That gives us an answer of 0.625. Plug in 2 for A and -1 for B. So I have a -1 times A, which is 2 minus 3, parentheses plus A, which is 2. So -1 is 1. 2 minus 3 is -1. Plus 2. So 1 times -1 is -1 plus 2 will give us an answer of a +1. Next problems. Plug in half for x and 1/4 for y. So we have half times half plus 2 times 1/4 minus 1/2. So 2 times 1/4 is just half. 1/2 plus 1/2 equals 1. So that's what I have in parentheses, times half minus half. So half times 1 is half. Half minus half is 0. So our answer would be 0. Next one, plug in 2 for A and -1 for B. So a -2, parentheses, -1 minus 2 minus a -1. So this is just a +1 in here. 1 minus 2 is a -1. Times a -2 is a +2. Plus 1 gives us an answer of 3. Next one, if m is -2 and y is 2.5, what is the value of y times m to the third? Y is 2.5. Multiply this by m, which is -2 to the third. So now I got to do exponents first. So a -2 raised to the third power is -8 times 2.5, which will give us a negative 20. If a is 3 and b is negative 1, what is the value of 2 times a divided by 5 minus b squared? So 2 parentheses. A is 3 divided by 5 minus b, which is a negative 1. Now I need to square what's in the parentheses. So now I have 2 times 3 divided by 6 is half. Half squared would be 1/4. If I simplify, I can divide a 2 here and get 1, divide a 2 here and get 2. So I end up with a fraction of half. Next one, if a is negative 2 and b is 25, what is the value? So a negative 25 times a, which is negative 2, minus 4, plus b, which is 25, all divided by 25. So let's simplify the top. So negative 2 minus 4 is negative 6. Negative 6 times a negative 25 gives us 150. So 150 plus 25 divided by 25. So 150 plus 25 equals 175 divided by 25. 175 divided by 25 gives us an answer of 7. The last one on this slide, we have x is negative 4 and y is negative 2. What is the value of x squared minus x times the absolute value of y divided by x cubed? So x is a negative 4. I need to square that, minus negative 4. Absolute value of y is negative 2 divided by negative 4 cubed. So let's simplify what I have on top. I have 16 minus absolute value of negative 2 is 2. 2 times a negative 4 is negative 8. So I'm subtracting negative 8 divided by negative 4 cubed is negative 64. Simplify this, I'm really adding on top. That gives me 24 divided by negative 64. I can divide by 8/8. This will give me 3 over negative 8. So I have a negative 3/8. And a word problem here for application. A savings account increases as interest accumulates according to the formula P underscore Y equals 1.04 times P underscore Y minus 1, where P underscore Y is the principal balance at the end of the year, Y is years, and P underscore Y minus 1 is the principal balance after Y minus 1 years. After 6 years, there is a principal balance of $1,450. How much is the principal balance after 8 years? So to solve for this one, we need to know how much it was after 7 years. So we know that P after 6 years is $1,450, and this is the same as P to the 7 minus 1. Okay, those are the same. Because if you do 7 minus 1, you still get C. So after 6, you get 6. So after 6 years, this is what you have. So we need to know what is it going to be after the 7th year. So that means we want to know, we're going to put the 7 here after 7 years. So we have 1.04 times the 7 minus 1, which is 6. So I got to put 1450 here. So I'm going to take 1450 times 1.04, and that gives us an answer for after 7 years, you got 1508. So now, what is the principal balance after 8 years? So now I have 1.04 times 8 minus 1. The principal of 8 minus 1 is really your 7. So I'm just going to substitute 1.04 times $1,508, and we get a total of $1,568.32 at the balance of 8 years. Next one. A savings account increases as interest accumulates according to the formula P underscore Y equals 1.04 times P underscore Y minus 1, where P underscore Y is the principal balance at the end of the year of the Y years, and P underscore Y minus 1 is the principal balance after Y minus 1 years. After 6 years, there's a principal balance of $1,600. How much is the principal balance after 8 years? This is the same one we just did, just different number. So after 6 years, it was $1,600. So to find for 7 years, you would take the 1.04 times our 1,600. So 1,600 times 1.04. So for 7 years, after 7 years, you had 1,664. So now the principal balance after 8 years, we would take our 1.04, we would multiply it by what we had after the 7th year, which is 1,664. And you would get, after the 8th years, you would have $1,730.56.